Hi everyone, this is Scott with Camille's Harem, and I'm super excited to say that we finally have more characters to judge mercilessly. I'm also super sheepish about not getting stuff done that I'd promised to do, so here it all is in one big blah. All those characters that I'm judging, they're all a bunch of assholes, bunch of jerks. I doubt that any of them would care that they're being judged from outside of canon, so I don't feel guilty at all for doing this. Except for Emul. Emul is freaking precious. Though I've got a soft spot for rabbit characters and stories since I started playing as a rabbit folk barbarian in a D&D campaign. Emul stands as our initial connection into a secret hidden questline in Shangri Frontier that Sunraku lucks himself into. The luck in this sense can only really be considered plot because it's set up as a way to progress his in-game character, and I've got a theory that it will tie into the major goal of defeating all of the unique monsters in the storyline. It's not something that we will see this or even in the next season, but I can see it coming down the way. See, what I know is that even though the scene is almost exactly the same in the manga and the anime, we are shown a silhouette of all of the different unique monsters when they're introduced to us for the first time. What differs between the anime and the manga is the clarity of those silhouettes, and there's one that suspiciously looks like another character, an NPC that shows up towards the end of episode 3, and we get more of him in episode 4. Of course, I'm talking about the quirky king of the Vorpal Bunny people, Vysash. I can't confirm these suspicions though, because it hasn't come up so far in what I've read in the manga, but I consider it some well planned out foreshadowing in a visual media. That's something you can get away with in visual media, blatant and or subtle foreshadowing as imagery in the background or during what seems to be basic exposition. If you're a writer though, you have to consider ways to put it into the story, though there's nothing stopping you from creating imagery like that as part of your descriptions of stuff going on in your story. I love that fight against the giant wolf, and it grew on me the further into the show I watched. I already know Lycagon's secret from the manga, and seeing it animated like that with a very confused Sunraku doing his best to fight against it made the fight so much more fun. Now I know that some game players would look down on a fight like that. I get it. I hate forced losses in video games, but I feel like this story handles it differently. Even though Sunraku is a fantastic player, he's still very much a noob, and he unfortunately triggered the summoning mechanism to have Lycagon show up. It could have happened to anyone that fulfilled the mechanic. Simple as that. He did really good considering his current status. The part that really saves it for me is that even though he lost, he won as well. He got a badge of honor, proof that he stood up to this mega boss, and actually fought toe-to-toe with it for a limited time. He fulfilled a different win condition, and one that will connect him back to Lycagon later on in the story, and that win condition is part of what connected him into the Vorpal Bunny questline. Each and everything, win or lose, is something that progressing his character and progressing the storyline in general. Like I've said before, this is a story of continual progression upwards, and from the looks of this, it could turn into a fairly long-running anime if it's handled right. Nowhere near One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, of course. More along the lines of Black Clover, I'm thinking. That's just kind of how anime and manga work, because they're made as a serial comic in the first place, and they just keep growing on top of themselves. The ability these stories have to create lore and to develop a massive amount of characters is always super fun. Then, as our MC starts to make headway into the game, he starts to gain fame and notoriety. Fame is a tool that a writer can use to take many different directions, as it can either lead to glory or infamy, respectively. It's also something that Sunraku doesn't want in the least. He's a greedy little bastard and wants all the unique fun stuff for himself, so that's what he's going to do. It doesn't stop the rest of the players in the game from trying to reach down his beak to pull his secrets out of him. We start to see the first of Sunraku's frenemies showing up, Arthur Pencilgun, who I can't decide if she's a bigger asshole than Sunraku or not. Either way, they work together perfectly, and I'm so glad she's finally in the story. She's the lead into the biggest fight this season, and I can't wait to see how that's going to pan out. I do hope they plan on giving that fight proper screen time, though. I do like in the 7th episode how they break up what could have been an absolute slog of back-to-back fights, leading into a montage of sorts. SLF is a story that thrives on its fight scenes, but there's a point when the amount of fighting will eventually just exhaust people and scare them away. We don't want what happened with the 2nd season of Haruhi Suzumiya to happen again. As a creator, it's important to always balance the materials you're presenting. Too much information and it will scare people off. Too little information and people will get bored with your stuff. A montage is a great way to condense a lot of that down. It's easier for visual media to pull off a montage than written media, but it's not all that impossible. I think the best way that I I can think of to handle it is to show quick little scenes that show the characters are making progress in something and that time is passing. Short flashbacks are a great way to handling this, in my opinion. Anyways, I wish you all the best in your creative journeys, and hopefully it won't be so long before I upload the next video. This has been Camille's Harem. Hokini.